Good afternoon from the surprisingly sunny Copenhagen. Welcome to the webinar Energy Efficiency Policies and the Arab Future Energy Index, hosted by Copenhagen Center on Energy Efficiency. My name is Aris. I'm working as a project officer at the Copenhagen Center, and I'm supporting the activities related to energy efficiency webinars. A couple of things before we move to the main content of our webinar. These webinars are going to be about 75 minutes long, including time for questions at the end. In case you cannot stay until the end or want to get back to our interesting presentations, all the materials and the recording of the whole webinar will be available online in a few days on the Copenhagen Center's Knowledge Management System. And we have many other webinars and information there. Have a look. I'll provide more information in a few minutes. A few things about the Copenhagen Center. The Center conducts research and advisory activities in the fields of energy efficiency and serves as energy efficiency hub for the Sustainable Energy for All initiative. The Center has an established network of global, regional, and national partners with a broad range of stakeholders to help accelerate the implementation of energy efficiency activities. On a regular basis, the Copenhagen Center is conducting webinars. All materials, including recordings and presentations from previous webinars, can be found on Copenhagen Center Knowledge Management System under the e-learning section. The material of today's webinar will be uploaded there shortly. Now, I would like to briefly introduce the speaker of today's webinar. Ashraf is a planning director at the Regional Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency since 2016. Rawad is working as Sustainable Energy Specialist at the Regional Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency. Abdelhamid is the Director of the Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy Department in the Ministry of Energy, Mines and Renewable Energy in Tunisia. And finally, Valentina is working as Project Officer at European Commission Joint Center at the Energy Efficiency and Renewables Unit. Finally, I would like to inform that you can send us your questions during the presentations, and we will do our best to answer as many as we can after all the presentations. Please do not forget to mention the name of the panelist that the question is for. And with that, I would like to give the floor to Ashraf.
Good afternoon, everybody. I would like first to thank Copenhagen Center for Energy Efficiency for giving us the opportunity to talk about one of the very important topics related to energy efficiency policies in the Arab region. I will start with introducing RCREEE as a regional center for renewable energy and energy efficiency in charge of the topic, and then my colleague Rawad will continue with a very specific product that we work on within the center. So RCREEE is a regional organization working within the Pan-Arab region with the 17 member states. And our work focuses mainly to navigate policies, practices, and also projects, investments, knowledge exchange between the regions, countries. And we built our work on knowledge that we gained throughout our work, partnering with our countries, and by replicating successful stories and then leading the region towards sustainable development through energy sector. So our mission and vision and RCREEE has been updated in 2017 to be aligned with the international practice. So we introduce ourselves as a strategic partners for the Arab region or for the Arab countries, driving energy transition to contribute in better life of our people. And we do this through 5 success factors. The first one is being connected, accessible, and responsive. The second one is being with regional characteristics, and this means flexible and multinational structure, with building trust with our partners and let them use our competitive advantages, with continue growing and sustaining with the service provided to the our member states. We are identified as an intergovernmental organization with 17 member states, as I mentioned before. We are officially registered as an international organization in Cairo since 2008. We also the technical arm of the League of Arab States Energy Department and also the Ministerial Council for Energy. We act as a leader in clean energy policy, the dialogues between different regions, strategies, technologies, and capacity development. And we are also a part of the global network of regional energy centers that is being created by UNIDO and still work with the support of the Austrian Development Agency. This is our portfolio of work. So we work on many topics including environment and climate change, standardization services, policy support, market research and knowledge management, investment promotion, private sector support, and socio-economic impact of projects related to renewable energy and energy efficiency. And we focus these days a lot about the new trends in the market and the project implementation. Within the policy framework, we were able to work very closely with the League of Arab States to create a governance system for renewable energy and energy efficiency policies. So this has been done gradually since 2009. In 2009, we started with the Pan-Arab Energy Efficiency Guideline. And this guideline was similar or inspired with the Energy Service Directive, the European one, and then adapted to the region. Within this guideline, we asked the countries to start working on their national energy efficiency action plans. And then this work have been grown and developed in a way that we create this governance system with a master document, which is the Pan-Arab Sustainable Energy Strategies that have been finalized very soon. And it included 3 main topics or pillars, which is renewable energy, energy efficiency, and energy access, with about 9 main indicators that will lead the region towards. And with the implementation tool for as a guideline for energy efficiency and renewable energy, planning tools, which are the NEAP and the NREAP templates, and most importantly is the reporting mechanism to monitor the progress of these plans and guidelines and strategies, and to always track the way towards the targets that have been designed. At the same level, we always look around about what are the recent strategies that are always being announced by the countries. And one of the most important part is the national determined contribution, or the intended nationally determined contributions, came out as a sequence of COP21 in Paris and the Paris Agreement, and which stated that every country should contribute to the global target of reducing the temperature 1.5 degrees to 2 degrees to meet the targets of also climate change mitigation. So we are doing a continuous analysis of these NDCs, and we are always trying to connect the policy support process with the targets in the NDCs. We recently published a very interesting study about NDCs in the field of energy, and what are the measures that was tackled within these indices, especially in the field of renewable energy and energy efficiency. The policy monitoring mechanism we are using since 2013 is a very interesting indexing system that have been built inspired by the OECD indexing approach, which is the Arab Future Energy Index. And we are doing this on two levels, the energy efficiency and renewable energy. Within this activity that we are doing 1 year another, we rank the countries in terms of their development in each topic. So renewable energy, energy efficiency, building on specific indicators and also specific factors that are being weighted to end up with this ranking. And this is what Rawad will speak in details. At the same time, we are focusing these days on how to finance projects. And according to this, we have 3 projects that are very much connected to the policy design. And these 3 projects are some sort of financing facilities that are created, and we deliver the technical service for all of them. So one of them is from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the EBRD, which is called the Green Economy Financing Facility. The second is for the European Investment Bank, and it's the Energy Management Services. And the third one is the support for the establishment of the Industrial Energy Efficiency Fund to deliver energy services to industry in cooperation with UNIDO. At the same time, we are so much in deep with the social and environmental studies for renewable energy and energy efficiency projects. We have 2 interesting projects, one of them for wind energy and one of them for solar energy. This is a very fast introduction to the center and its activities. And allow me please to give the floor back to the moderator. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashraf, for your presentation. Now we are going to continue with the presentation of Rawad. Rawad, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ashraf. First of all, so hello everyone. My name is Rawad Rizk, and welcome to today's webinar. What I'll be doing today is that I'll be introducing the AFEX, or the Arab Future Energy Index. I will also be speaking about the current trends and challenges in the energy efficiency market in the Arab region, with a special focus on Tunisia. So first of all, I will introduce the AFEX, then I will give you a very brief overview of the energy situation in the region, and then give you the main results of the different chapters studied under the AFEX before finally showing you the final scores. So what is the AFEX? The AFEX, or the Arab Future Energy Index, is a monitoring and assessment tool of the current status and development of renewable energy and energy efficiency in 20 Arab countries. It offers both a qualitative and a quantitative analysis. We mainly base our assessment on around 28 indicators, which themselves are based on the OECD guideline for developing indicators. And these indicators cover 4 main categories. They're a bit different between the renewable energy and the energy efficiency one. But for the energy efficiency one, they cover energy prices, which assesses the current structure of energy pricing, including electricity and fuel prices. The second is the policy framework, which assesses the state of use of policy frameworks and level of commitment to overcome market, social, and political barriers to energy efficiency. as well as assessing each country's strategies and action plans, and as well as targets. The third one is the institutional capacity, which assesses a country's institutional capacity to design and implement and evaluate energy efficiency policies. And finally, the utility sector, we assess the efficiency of the utility sector itself in terms of generating and transmitting and distributing the electricity. So just to quickly touch on the importance of the AFEX, the publication really helps us track regional implementation of SDG 7 as well as SDG 13. It helps us monitor the implementation of different targets and measures under each country's national energy efficiency action plan. It assesses the investment climate in energy efficiency and renewable energy in the market, which is helpful for people interested in to invest in the sustainable energy market. And finally, it helps countries learn from each other's success stories. So just to give you a brief overview of the energy situation in the Arab region, as you can see, in terms of primary energy consumption, the Arab region is still very or heavily dependent on fossil fuels, where oil and gas constitute more than 98% of primary energy consumption. Between 2000 and 2014, oil consumption in terms of energy mix composition dropped a bit, but then again it was picked up by natural gas. So when we look at the energy and electricity consumption per capita in the Arab region, we notice that the GCC countries or the Gulf countries are among the top consumers in the region, per capita. This is mainly due to the high energy subsidies in these countries, the high oil and gas reserves, and the high income in those countries. Tunisia's energy and electricity consumption is relatively low compared to other Arab countries, namely the GCC countries. So just translating what I previously showed you in terms of energy and electricity consumption per capita, as well as the heavy dependence on fossil fuels in the region, into CO2 emissions, you can notice that the CO2 emissions in the Arab region increased by around a gigaton in the last 15 years, and they increased at a fast rate of averaging a 5.3% per year. Tunisia, on the other hand, witnessed a relatively slower growth in CO2 emissions at around 3.4% per year. So in the first chapter studied under the AFEX is the energy subsidies. Energy subsidies remain a significant barriers for end user energy efficiency investment in the Arab region. The subsidies are very extensive throughout the Arab region, especially in the Gulf countries. But nonetheless, the region really did witness an unprecedented wave of energy subsidy reform, especially after the oil crisis in 2014 and all the fiscal deficits that the Arab countries witnessed. So looking at pre-tax subsidies dropped from $168 billion in 2013 to around $92 billion in 2015, and most of these subsidies are found in oil exporting countries. So these are the countries that underwent energy subsidy reforms between 2016 and 2017, and these countries increased from 6 countries to around 11, which is unprecedented, really, in the Arab region. So one thing we do in the AFEX is that we try to calculate the energy in terms of electricity and fuel subsidies in the Arab countries. What we do is that we try to calculate the prices of producing a unit of electricity in different sectors, and then benchmark these prices according to the country that has the highest electricity price. We consider that country as the benchmark and calculate the relative subsidy accordingly. So, for example, for the residential sector, the country having the highest electricity price was Palestine. As we saw, it had the most realistic, or it reflected the true price of producing electricity. And we benchmarked the other countries to Palestine. Another example is the industrial sector, but in that case, we benchmarked the subsidies to Morocco, and it had the highest electricity prices. Again, Tunisia's electricity prices are relatively low in the industrial sector compared to the residential sector, as you saw in the previous slide, which shows that the industrial sector is relatively still more subsidized than the other sectors in Tunisia. For the diesel prices, diesel prices in the Arab region, as you can see, it's still relatively low compared to the world average, where Morocco, Syria, Djibouti, Mauritania, and Palestine are the only countries that have higher fuel prices than the world average. So the second chapter studied under the AFEX is the policy framework, seeing that an effective energy efficiency policy framework is really vital to developing and implementing energy efficiency strategies. And the key elements studied in this chapter included the ability of a government to have a clear intent and commitment for energy efficiency improvement, a high level and long-term focus and time-bound energy efficiency objective, having dedicated energy efficiency agencies for planning, designing energy efficiency measures, as well as having dedicated funds and resources to achieve those targets. So as of 2017, 15 out of the 20 Arab countries studied under the AFEX have already developed and are implementing national energy efficiency action plans. 3 countries, including Lebanon and Tunisia and Palestine, are already implementing their second or third national energy efficiency action plan, third in the case of Tunisia. 2 countries, which are Egypt and Jordan, are preparing their second national energy efficiency action plan, while 10 others are still implementing their first national energy efficiency action plan. So just to show you a quick example on Tunisia's energy efficiency target, Tunisia has energy efficiency targets in the building, industrial, and transport sector, and aims to achieve 49% energy saving by 2020, 26% in the industrial sector, and 25% in the transport sector. And really, Tunisia, and I think Tunisia and Morocco are the only countries in the Arab region that have set energy efficiency targets in the transport sector, which is quite significant in the region. In terms of energy efficiency policies, the most significant in Tunisia were setting mandatory energy efficiency audits for the industrial sector, as well as for establishment belonging to the residential and transport sectors having energy consumption exceeding 500 tons of oil equivalent. for a new industrial project of existing industrial facilities with energy consumption exceeding 7,000 tons of oil equivalent. In terms of discouraging the use of incandescent light bulbs, the sale of incandescent light bulbs with power superior to 100 watts and voltages superior to 100 volts were banned. We also studied the availability of minimum energy performance standards and energy efficiency labeling in the Arab region, and from the 20 Arab countries studied, most minimum energy performance standards and comparative labeling were found for air conditioning, where 9 countries have implemented the maps and 10 other countries have implemented comparative labeling. We saw more comparative labeling. Around 9 countries implemented comparative labeling for refrigeration and energy efficiency lighting. Another thing we studied under the policy framework is the availability of dedicated finances, as the lack of financing really remains one of the biggest hurdles for implementing the different programs and measures under each country's energy efficiency action plan. And in that sense, we try to assess the availability of dedicated energy efficiency funds in the region, and of those were, for example, NEREA in Lebanon, the National Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy Action, JREEF in Jordan, the Energy Transition Fund in Tunisia, the GAF in Egypt, the Green Economy Financing Facility, and others. So specifically for Tunisia, there's the Energy Transition Fund, the FTE, which was previously the National Energy Efficiency Fund, and some of the funds or the measures under this Energy Transition Fund is providing subsidies for energy audits, providing subsidies for energy efficiency projects, as well as providing both subsidies and loans for people interested in installing solar water heaters. The subsidy under the ProSol program, the Programme Solaire, the subsidy was around 100 Tunisian dinar, which is right now around 35 euros per meter squared installed, as well as around a 70% subsidy, which is paid through the electricity bill. In terms of incentives, there's an exemption on value-added tax for energy efficiency equipment, as well as a reduction on custom duties for the imports of energy efficiency equipment. The third chapter studied was the institutional capacity, seeing that the success of energy efficiency measures hinges on the availability of a consistent and adequate and reliable energy efficiency governance in order to successfully implement the energy efficiency strategies, programs, policies, and measures under each action plan. So in that sense, around 17 Arab countries from the 20 Arab countries studied in the AFEX have dedicated energy efficiency agencies or energy efficiency units inside their ministry. And for Tunisia, it's the ANME. For Lebanon, it's RCREEE. For Egypt, it's an energy efficiency and climate change unit within the ministry, and so on. So finally, for the utilities sector, we assessed the generation efficiency in the Arab region, And to an extent, the efficiency of generating electricity in the Arab region is still to some extent below the European average. For transmission and distribution losses, it is somewhat diverse in the Arab region. For some countries, you see that the transmission and distribution losses are significantly high. For others, it's much lower. The transmission and distribution losses in the Gulf countries are definitely among the lowest in the Arab region. Just to bear in mind that these losses are for both technical and non-technical losses. That's why you see that in Iraq, Yemen, Syria, Lebanon, and Palestine, these losses are significantly high due to a lot of non-technical or commercial losses in electricity distribution. So finally, we show our results of the 28 indicators study, which we compile into 9 other indicators, and then we compare these results to the regional average of that year. In that case, it's 2017, and Tunisia. And this is an example of the results for Tunisia. Tunisia really remains among the top rankings for the AFEX and as a leader in energy efficiency in the Arab region. Really, Tunisia has really focused immensely on developing its energy efficiency sector and emerged ahead in the policy framework in developing the most comprehensive energy efficiency laws among Arab countries, as well as bylaws and targets. As I said, Tunisia and Morocco are the only countries that have developed targets for the transportation sector. And although the electricity subsidies are relatively low in the residential sector, they remain relatively high in the industrial and commercial sector. So that is definitely an area for improvement for Tunisia. And just finally, these are the scores for all the Arab countries. As I said, Tunisia remains on top, or a leader in energy efficiency in the region, followed by Jordan, Morocco, and the United Arab Emirates. This really proves that the majority of Arab countries are implementing reform actions, setting targets for energy efficiency, as well as action plans, and adopting new policies and regulations to adopt and enforce different energy efficiency measures and targets. And that's it. Thank you very much for listening. And now I will pass the floor to Engineer Abdelhamid.
Hello, everybody. So at first, I want to thank Copenhagen Center on Energy Efficiency for giving us the opportunity to speak about the Tunisian experience in the energy efficiency as a success story in the region. So firstly, I will speak very fast about the energy situation in Tunisia. So the first thing is that the energy balance in Tunisia becomes negative since 2001, and the deficit reached now about 50%. And if we continue with the best as usual scenario, this deficit can reach more than 8% by 2035. Another problem also is that the same thing for the natural gas. We have a deficit since 2005, and now we supply about 50% of our needs from Algeria, and it's expected that the natural gas will suffice only just the sectors other than electricity production sector, which consumes about 75% of gas. So there is a problem of supply here, especially in the electricity production sector. Another problem also is with the subsidy. So the subsidy reserved for the energy sector reached record levels in the last years when the barrel prices rose in 2013 and also 2012. And this situation was appeased in 2016 and 17, but it's not sustainable because the barrel prices can rise again, and the situation can be inverted in the future. And we have to find a solution for this problem. So I will speak very fast about the energy transition policy. So because of all of those factors that I speak about, there is a new strategy established in Tunisia in 2013. And this strategy called energy transition policy is based basically on 5 axes. The first one is the development of energy efficiency and the control of the demand. The second one is the diversification of energy resources, especially the renewable energy. Third, the development of oil and gas exploration. Fourth, the rationalization of the subsidy, and at least at the end, the reinforcement of the electrical interconnections. So I will speak now about energy efficiency in Tunisia. So the time is limited. I will speak about the energy efficiency globally. I will not speak about details. So the first thing is that there is a ranking done by the World Bank in 2016, and the result of this ranking is that Tunisia is classified among the first 20 countries in the world in the energy efficiency field, and it is the first in the Arab region and the second in Africa, and which is already confirmed by the AFEX done by RCREEE. So here we can ask the question, what are the success factors? So I will speak very fast about some factors behind this success in Tunisia. So the first one is the clear institutional framework through the establishment of the National Agency for Energy Conservation, NAME, since 1985. The second factor is the very developed regulatory framework. So we have a law established in 2004, and it's amended in 2009, and this law covered all the energy efficiency activities in all the sectors. The third factor is the attractive and incentive framework. So there is two axes here. The first one is the creation of the National Fund for Energy Conservation in 2005, giving subsidies for energy efficiency and renewable energy projects. And this fund is transformed in 2014 into the Energy Transition Fund. The other thing is the minimum customs duty and VAT exemption for raw material and semi-finished products used in energy efficiency goals. The fourth one is the awareness programs and also the pricing policies. So in Tunisia, especially in the electricity sector, in the residential sector, so we have relatively high prices, and in the last years we have a strategy to raise the prices, and which can help to develop energy efficiency projects. 5, an appropriate financing framework, which is very important here by setting up of financing mechanisms which are based on basically on financing lines with low rates, and also the subsidies gives by the government via the National Energy Fund. 6, we have international cooperation. So we have technical assistance from many stakeholders, and also the inspiration from the best practices and success stories in other countries. And 7, the mandatory auditing system. So this act is also very important, because when a company make the audit, so he can discover that he have many possibilities to increase his consumption, and the experience proved that this auditing system is necessary to have a very good system of energy efficiency in a country. So here I will speak with global achievements in some sectors. So the first one is the energy intensity improvement. So we look here that since the 19th, we have a continuous decrease of the energy intensity. But in the last years, we have just a little bit increase because the economic recession, but globally we have a continuous decrease of this factor. Our international position for the energy intensity, so Tunisia is in the same rate of the world. But if we compare with OCDE or with France, for example, so we have many things to do to improve the energy efficiency more and more. Another example here, the cumulated number of program contracts for energy efficiency projects and activities in the industry, building and transportation. So you can look here that there is a continuous rise of the number of the programs, and which is important here that we remark since 2005 we have the rate of the increase is more important, and it's because of the establishment of the Energy Conservation Fund. So we can, so for this reason, the fund is necessary to implement the projects. Another example about the cogeneration. We have in Tunisia the first project is established in 2002, and in 2007, after the establishment of the Energy Conservation Fund and the setting up of financing mechanisms, so the number of projects becomes high and high, and now we have about 110 megawatt installed. For the solar water heaters also, donc Tunisia has a very good experience. So here this field is started since 1985, but at first the capacity installed is not very high, but we look here that after 2005, the rate of the implementation becomes very high because of the establishment also of the Energy Conservation Fund. For the solar PV rooftops, this program is launched in 2010 after the promulgation of the Energy Conservation Law in 2009 to give the opportunity to produce electricity, self-electricity production in the residential sector, and we can look here that there is an exponential rising of the capacity installed. Another example here for the energy fund or the annual expenditure in Tunisian million dinar. So there is continuous support of the fund since 2006 until now, especially for the energy efficiency and for the water, solar heaters, and PV systems, which are also considered as energy efficiency projects. At the end, so I will speak about the future global targets. So we have here the objective of Tunisia in 2020 is to decrease the energy consumption by 17% and 30% in 2030. This is the goal of Tunisia in energy efficiency. So thank you very much. If you have any question, I am at your disposal. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Valentina Palermo from the European Commission, the Joint Research Center. I would like to thank the Copenhagen Center on Energy Efficiency for this kind invitation. Today, I will focus on experiences on energy efficiency action at the city level, based on the outcomes of the Covenant of Mayors in the region. So some figures about the Covenant of Mayors. This initiative was launched in 2008 with the support of the European Commission to endorse and support the efforts deployed by local authorities in the implementation of sustainable energy policies. There are two distinct features of the initiative that are the acceptance of a voluntary political commitment by the municipality and the preparation of a document, the SEAP, and then its monitoring and reporting reports. The reduction target in 2008 was the 20% by 2020. In 2015, the initiative took on new objectives to step up the initial carbon reduction commitment and then included adaptation to climate change and access to energy. And the document changed from SEAP to SECAP, which is Sustainable Energy and Climate Action Plan. Moreover, in 2017, the Global Covenant of Mayors was launched. This was a merge between the Covenant of Mayors and Compact of Mayors initiative. And it is an alliance, an international alliance of cities that have a long-term vision for promoting and supporting a voluntary action to fight climate change. The Global Covenant of Mayors accounts for about 9,000 cities, so 700 million people worldwide, and the signatories agree on a long-term vision to tackle three pillars: the access to energy and climate mitigation and adaptation, and they work on the document, the SECAP document. But in 2012, the Commission decided to extend the Covenant of Mayors initiative to the South Mediterranean region in 10 countries: Algeria, Egypt, Israel, Jordan, Lebanon, Morocco, Palestinian territories, Syria, and Tunisia. This was done with the assistance of a project that is the CESMED project, Cleaner Energy Saving Mediterranean Cities. This project had the aim of supporting the development of local authorities in the region to capacity building, to increase their capacity buildings and provide sustainable energy policies. So if we have a look to the three pillars, we said that they are mitigation and adaptation of climate change and energy access. The signatories have to translate their political commitment into practical actions, and to do this, they design and develop this sustainable energy and climate action plan, which contains also an initial assessment of the current situation of the local authorities, both for mitigation with the baseline emission inventory and with adaptation with a climate risk and vulnerability assessment. So this slide wants to summarize the key element of the Covenant of Mayors in the MENA region. So there are some data, the countries, the name of the project, and its aim. Just to have a look at the situation in the region, the southern Mediterranean region can be described by a need for sustainable energy development, but this must match the growth of population and industry, and should satisfy at the same time the economic needs and the energy security of the region. This graph shows the carbon emission per year, and we can see that these emission levels are higher than ones recorded in other regions like the East Partnership, but are lower than the European average. And we have recorded that there are good progresses, especially in Tunisia, Jordan, and Morocco, in terms of integrating and enacting energy efficiency measures. The main role in this context of JRC is to carry out methodological adaptation of the approach to the region, also to evaluate SEAPs and to participate to workshops to train the trainers. So we developed the framework for the Covenant of Mayors South basing on the European framework, but we adapted several parts to be suitable to the peculiarity of the region. Regarding the SEAPs phases, this is the same process of the European one. The four phases are the initiation, the planning, implementation, and monitoring and report. However, some requirements have been adapted, in particular the possibility to set a carbon emission reduction target based on business as usual rather than on BEI, and the chance to choose a baseline year which is more recent than 1990, and also the opportunity for municipalities to include non-energy related sectors, for example, agriculture, waste, and waste management. So giving an insight on the situation, we can say that we have a total of 40 active signatories from 7 countries, the one of the first graph on the left. And regarding the number of SEAPs, we have 22 SEAPs that were submitted. The distribution is on the right, and we can see that the highest number of signatories come from Morocco, while in Tunisia we can record 3 SEAPs. The SEAP is the core document that allow to have the vision and the targets and the actions of a signatory. After the SEAP submission and implementation, there will be a monitoring report on the implementation of the actions in the SEAP. The 40 signatories represent a total population of about 5 million inhabitants, with an average signatory size of 100,000 inhabitants. And according to a JRC classification, the 75% of signatories can be considered urban areas. So this slide is to show an overview of the energy profile of the region from the analysis of the 22 SEAPs we received. And further details on these can be found in the report that was released in 2018, the Covenant of Mayors overall analysis and evaluation of the SEAPs in the MENA region. So we can say that the total final energy consumption reported by the 22 signatories is around 23 terawatt-hour per year. And the primary sources of energy are the automotive fuels that are diesel and gasoline, followed by electricity and natural gas. And relating to the sectors, we have the transport sectors, including municipal fleet, public, private, and commercial transport that represent about the 45%, while the building, residential building subsector represent about the 32%. There were several challenges that were for local authorities. In particular, the lack of experience in the field of sustainable policies, the lack of skills, and the difficulties to access to financing and funding were the core of the challenges that the municipalities faced. So the SEAPs in Tunisia, we said that we received 3 SEAPs. There is one other signatory that signed, but it has time to forward and submit his document. So basing our analysis on these 3 SEAPs received, we can say that the population covered is around 650,000 inhabitants. That according and thanks to the baseline emission inventory that gives us the chance to identify the most energy intensive sectors, we had as a result that these were the building sector, the transport sector, and the industry. The measures identify and recommended to support at local and national level the preparation of SEAPs were classified into 2 types, the horizontal ones and the specific actions. The former aim at supporting the sustainability of SEAPs at the level of municipalities and to increase the awareness of the plan and on the sustainability. And for example, there were the creation at local level of a sustainable energy information point to increase the communication on the topic, or the creation of an energy management committee to create the definition, the validation, and the monitoring of the SEAP. On the contrary, the specific actions are more detailed and focus on different fields, so the buildings, public lighting, transport, and so on. Regarding the renewable energy and renewable resources, Tunisia has been promoting gradual integration of renewable energies into the energy mix. And there is a key role of the agency that was already mentioned in developing energy efficiency at different levels, from national to local level. Specific action at local level regards several fields and topics, from public building to photovoltaics in municipal buildings to public-private partnership. Now I would like just saying a few keynotes regarding the 3 sectors we identified with 3 best practices. So for buildings, the municipality of Sfax was able to take action on the Promo ISOL national program. So this is a national program that includes a financial mechanism to promote the thermal insulation of the roof of existing building through a subsidy. And the role of municipality in this case is to complement this national program by reinforcing the communication on the program. Regarding the transport sector, the one that usually gather much more action is the urban mobility. And usually the urban mobility action plan includes all the planning documents, actions that regard the several aspects of urban transport, from the parking to the transit system to cycling and walking infrastructures. As an example, the municipal of Kairouan decided to create a bus rapid transit system because this was the most suitable solution for the territorial constraints of the area. Finally, a land use planning option regarding the municipality of Sfax. This is the development of the Taparura site, which came after a refurbishment, a renewal of a former industrial zone. This aims at creating an eco village, an eco neighborhood with a lot of measures, from the integration of design standards for building to the use of LEDs for public lighting, the use of photovoltaics, and also the design of the area includes a medium high density development that help and support the use of public transport. And in this way, the neighborhood and the project has the ambition to create this eco neighborhood that aims to mitigate and adapt to climate change. Thank you, and I will leave the floor to the next.
Thank you very much, all the panelists, for their interesting presentation. Now it's time for the Q&A session, and we see several questions, a little bit for everybody, for all the panelists. I'll start first with Rawad. Rawad, the question that we receive is why there is such a difference between energy efficiency institutional and regulatory framework in Tunisia and in other Arab countries?
Sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Yes, yes, of course. The question is why there is such a difference between energy efficiency institutional and regulatory framework in Tunisia and in other Arab countries?
Oh, okay. For several reasons, I would say. First of all, Tunisia is already implementing the third phase of their energy efficiency action plan. For example, another big driver was that Tunisia has the most rigorous set of energy efficiency laws and bylaws to support energy efficiency measures and projects. The bylaws, for example, they tackled all topics and subtopics such as I showed you, such as energy audit for the industrial sector and for the residential and transport sector, as well as for cogeneration. Plus, Tunisia has a dedicated energy efficiency agency, which is ANEME. So yeah, those are the reasons. Whereas in other countries, the availability of energy efficiency laws or bylaws are either not available, or they don't have dedicated energy efficiency agency to implement all the energy efficiency measures and policies in a transparent way.
Thank you very much for the response. The next question is for Abdelhamid, and the question is: are the financial and fiscal incentives in Tunisia targeting also small, medium enterprises and private sector?
Yes, of course. Subsidies are given by the National Fund for all the types of projects, even in the For example, PV in the rooftops, solar water heaters in the residential sector, for the small enterprises, and for huge consumers of energy in the cogeneration, etc. So all types of projects are eligible for the subsidies given by the government.
Thank you very much. The next question is for Ashraf, and the question is, how can you set energy efficiency targets for a vast and diverse region such as the Arab region?
Yeah, actually, yes. The new Arab Sustainable Energy Strategy put a target for the region. So this target have been calculated in a bottom-up approach. So we analyzed the targets that have been already announced at the national level, and then we converted these targets to the regional context. And actually, we chose specific indicators to reflect these targets, such as the per capita consumption, such as the energy intensity. As you know, there are different countries in the region, and the countries have different characteristics in terms of energy. We have oil producing countries with very high consumption, and we have also countries that net importers of energy, and also countries that they don't have sufficient energy resources. According to this, putting the target will open the eyes of the countries on how will be the direction in the future. So countries need to decrease the consumption to reach the target, and countries need to have some sort of, let's say, electricity system expansion. I'll give you an example. The Arab strategy put a target of per capita consumption for 3,500 kilowatt hour. So to be aligned with the worldwide average. Some countries we have in our region, such as Qatar, the per capita consumption is up to 16,500 kilowatt hour, while in some other countries like Yemen, it is 150 kilowatt hours. So for Yemen, you need to increase in terms that you get the lifestyle appropriate, and in Qatar you need to decrease to reach the world reasonable average consumption.
Thank you very much. The next question is, I think, for Rawad, and the question is, could you please provide Saudi Arabia's ranking and any interesting findings for the country?
For Saudi Arabia?
Yes.
For the ranking, I think Saudi Arabia is at 50%. For the ranking, I think 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think it's the 10th with a total score of 50%. For Saudi Arabia, I think the biggest thing they did is the strategy. As well as with energy labeling, and also they have a dedicated energy efficiency agency, which is the SEET, the Saudi Energy Efficiency Center, for energy efficiency labeling, as well as discouraging inefficient appliances. I think they banned all inefficient air conditioning, and they have like just very rigorous energy efficiency awareness campaigns. And that's it for Saudi Arabia.
Thank you very much, Rawad. The next question is for Abdelhamid, and the question is, Could you please elaborate on the energy audits that you mentioned, in particular differentiating the auditing of old and new buildings?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. The question is asking to elaborate on the energy audits
Yes.
of old and new buildings.
Old and new buildings, yes. Yes, there is audits for the building sector. So the audits are for the industrial and tertiary sector for the companies, and we have also the in French audit sur plan, planned audit. So before, for the new buildings, before building a house, for example, you have to make a design respecting some energy efficiency requirements. For the old buildings, also you can make an audit to it's similar to the industry or the other sectors. It's you do an audit to make a new design or to make some improvements to improve the energy efficiency of the building. So it's the possibility is for the new and the old buildings.
So, ladies and gentlemen, finally we come to the end of the webinar. I would like to thank the panelists for the informative and interesting presentations, and to the audience for their active participation. The presentations will be beneficial for all stakeholders involved in energy efficiency. Thank you for your attention and wish you a good day or night from Copenhagen.